Finally, we can get ourselves over to the Etihad. Mark Ogden from ESPN FC, senior writer. The music has gone down, the dust has settled. Whether or not Haaland's got his ponytail back in, who knows? But Mark Ogden, today Manchester City showed why they are likely to be champions of England again.
Absolutely, and I think it was Elamy that said earlier on they look like the best team in the world tonight, and they just blew Arsenal away. And I think Arsenal were a bit scared of City tonight. I thought there was a look of terror in the face of the players, and right from the off, I think they just knew. It was almost like they came in knowing that they were going to get blown away. I think that they've allowed City's track record, City's experience to get into their heads, and I think it's not a bottle job. I wouldn't say that's unfair because you have to play all. It's a 38-game season. You have to play City away. You can play Liverpool away. You've got Newcastle, so they're getting all the tough games at the end of the season, but they looked terrified tonight. It was like watching a Mike Tyson fight back in the 80s when he would just dominate his opponent right from the off, and that's what City did. And I think, Arsenal will finish second and possibly by a bit of distance as well.
One of the words that has been used with Janusz, with Dallin, with Luis Miguel has been inexperience when talking about Arsenal. And if we say that no team in that first half could have dealt with Manchester City, they were that good. Was it more about losing, just losing, not their bottle, just losing their nerve because they've not had that experience before? Because you cover many sports, we all do. There's the phrase horses for courses. If you've got experience of doing something and having success doing that, you always have that bit of advantage, don't you, against a side that might be going well but haven't been over the course before.
Yeah, and I think as well on this one tonight, it's not just about the inexperience of Arsenal's younger players; it's the inexperience of the older players as well, in the sense that
the coach, maybe, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't been there, so I think we have to kind of put it into context when we talk about inexperience. It isn't just about players who are 23, 22, even younger. It's about Granit Xhaka. He's never been down the course before. Granit Xhaka's experience at Arsenal is really of falling short in the latter stage of the season. They did that last season, and they're going to do it again. So it's a mentality thing as well. And I think the young players that they've got are obviously very talented. Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, excellent players that have got a great future in the game. But maybe they need experience around them of winning trophies. And they've done that a little bit this year with Zinchenko and Jesus. But I think the guys have said that Zinchenko wasn't really here tonight. He didn't really, he looked like a bit part player that he was at Man City. So, but you're playing against a formidable machine in Man City. We're talking about a team that, when history judges the Premier League, this side will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And up there with the Man United teams, the Arsenal Invincible, the great Mourinho teams at Chelsea. So there was no hope for Arsenal, really. There really wasn't. I think, we talked about the treble at the top of the programme, and it is about, they've got 11 games to play. I think
Janusz,
three games. I think there's 3 games that really matter. The cup final and 2 against Real Madrid. They win those, they're going to win the treble.
Speaking of 3 games, they've got 3 league games before they play the first leg against Real Madrid. So we'll get to, I want to praise Pep Guardiola for what he did and constantly tweaking things, because we thought Janusz, is John Stones going to play that kind of hybrid role, defensive midfield? No, he was at the back. But Kevin De Bruyne was the player that was pushed forward, and at times he was kind of up there with Erling Haaland. So taking that on board, how does Pep Guardiola ensure that for the next 3 games before the Real Madrid game, that it wasn't about this cup final against Arsenal? It wasn't about let's beat them and see where it takes us. How does he ensure that the players are focused between now and the rest of the season?
Well, he's already done it. Last week and the week before, right? I mean, he had a Bayern Munich game where he played his best lineup. Then, had a Sheffield United in FA Cup where he rested players for this game right here. So he's done it. Now he's going to do it again, right? Today was his best lineup. I didn't see any, obviously Ake wasn't there because he probably would have played. Who knows if the 4-4-2 that we saw today would have been the way to go. Maybe he would have been tempted to stay with 3, but I think he would have changed it. And he's going to do exactly the same this weekend against Fulham, and he's going to be ready for Real Madrid with the same lineup, but one decision that he's going to have to make. And as I've imagined, just like he did against Bayern Munich, just like he did today, he put Bernardo Silva over over Riyad Mahrez, right? I mean, look, Riyad Mahrez has had a tremendous season. I mean, just the other day, he scored a hat trick in FA Cup semifinal, right? But just like against Bayern Munich, against the likes of Alphonso Davies, who was non-existent, and Leroy Sané, for the most part, wasn't either. He knew that he needed Bernardo Silva for his defensive ability. Today, he did it as well. So I suspect that it's going to be the same against Real Madrid, because he's going to have to deal with informed Camavinga and Vinny Jr. So I think he's got it all figured out. Now he's got everybody healthy. I don't even know in the end, because I turned it off because I was getting ready for that. I don't even know, did Foden even come into the game? I mean,
he got the assist. He got the assist for Erling Haaland.
Oh, so he came in very late, because I didn't see the last minute or two.
He came on for Jack Grealish just after the goal.
Right,
was
but
scored.
so I mean, just imagine, right? I mean, not only being able to substitute some of his best players, but Foden playing 2 or 3 minutes, whatever he played. So he's done it. He's got the rotation down. Everybody is healthy, but Ake, everybody that anybody that matters anyway. And that's what you do at a big club, right? You have to foresee the entire season. You're going to have injuries. Manchester City has had plenty of them, but you got to make sure that the top players get enough rest or whatever. You don't force them to play in games. You don't force them to bring them back sooner. But for this business end of the season.
Mark, it's not often the apprentice gets the better of the master, and he didn't. Today, Pep was the master, showed it, not just to Mikel Arteta, but to others. Was there one thing that Pep did today that either surprised you or was a master stroke that he maybe hasn't done that often?
I think he played his best team, and I think in the biggest games in the past, sometimes Pep has tried to be too clever. That was his master stroke tonight. He kept it simple. He played his best team, and he said to him, look, you're the best team in the country, the best team in Europe, the world, go and prove it. So I don't think he did anything particularly different tonight. It was just a case of trusting his players. And, in the past at City, Pep hasn't really done that. A few Champions League semi-finals we've seen over the years where Pep has just not really, he's tinkered too much. Tonight it was, and I maybe think that's an element of the fact that he knew that Arsenal, he probably felt that Arsenal weren't the threat that maybe they should have been. One thing that struck me tonight was that I've been to games at the Etihad over the years when they played Liverpool in those massive games. Back to when they played Man United in 2012 when Vincent Kompany scored the winning goal. Games that were really kind of, that decided the title. They were really edgy, nervous nights. There was no nerves tonight. It seemed very relaxed. Everyone seemed really confident. I think that is because the experience of the team, the experience of the fans now know how games are won. And I think the collective element of that, Pep, the team, the fans, the experience, it was just proved too much for Arsenal. I think they had no chance in the end.
Mark, just a question to you, and not that I disagree, but I mean, we've talked about it. I'm not sure if you were able to hear us, but I think today, tactically, it was superb. I think, the 4 in the back made a massive difference. Remember, I mean, Pep normally, many games, played with 2 6s and with 2 10s. It was impossible to get through the middle. He conceded the wide areas. Today, he knew he couldn't against Martinelli and against Saka. So he played 4, knowing that Akanji's playing out of position. And in the 3, he does look vulnerable, as I've said a little bit earlier. So he gave him help. And, neither Saka or Martinelli, they were not existent. And on top of that, you get Grealish and Silva, who, I mean, now imagine getting through those 2 wide players and then 2 fullbacks. So I think it was good. And, the freedom I think he gave to De Bruyne, not that he doesn't before, but to me, that looked 4-4-2. And perhaps there's a reason why the partnership between De Bruyne and Haaland is always good, but today was at a different level. They were unplayable.
I think Pep knew that the game was going to be won in midfield. I think that midfield here today was stacked with absolute quality. Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne. And I think he probably knew that. Partey's not been playing great recently. Odegaard's a brilliant player, but he's not dynamic box to box. And I think they also knew that subconsciously Arsenal midfielders would be dropping back a little bit deeper because of Rob Holding, no Saliba. So all those elements, he just overloaded his midfield with absolute quality, and it dominated the game. And like you said, De Bruyne, unstoppable.
Well, that was the thing, because you've seen him a lot this season, and you've been at the Etihad, and I want to get your thoughts in a second about the atmosphere and how big a part the City fans have had to play, certainly tonight in that victory. However, Kevin De Bruyne this season, we've seen him deeper. Janusz has mentioned we've seen him one of 2 10s playing in behind Erling Haaland as well. But when you give a maestro a stage like that and ask him to perform with the ability that he's not playing as far up as the 2 centre-backs, but he's not playing deep enough. He's playing kind of between Partey and Holding and Gabriel. When you've got a maestro doing that, and you can trust him to perform. Was he close to unplayable tonight along with Haaland?
Absolutely. And you know something? I think Pep deserves quite a lot of credit for this because do you remember about 2 months ago when De Bruyne wasn't playing very well? He dropped him a couple of times, dropped him at Tottenham, and people say, well, what are you dropping Kevin De Bruyne for? And Pep said, it's tactics. Somebody told me that knows De Bruyne quite well. He said that what Pep's doing, Pep thinks that over the years De Bruyne has tailed off at this stage of the season where he exhausts himself. He works so hard in games that Pep was basically conserving his energy for this stage of the season. Now, if that was right, Pep was absolutely spot on because tonight it was brilliant. And this is when you need Kevin De Bruyne to be at his best. You need him to be at his best at the end of April, beginning of May, when the title's there to be won. Look, he came back from the World Cup disappointed. It took him a while to get going again, but Pep's management of De Bruyne has been exceptional. And I think sometimes when decisions like that are made, we tend to react in the moment, don't we, and think, why is he doing that? We don't look at the bigger picture and the long-term picture. And the bigger picture is tonight. And the bigger picture is the Champions League final in Istanbul on the 10th of June, where, if De Bruyne has had that benefit of 2 or 3, 4 weeks off the pace, a little bit of rest, they could win the Champions League, they could win the treble because of it.
Janusz, Mark's just spoken about Pep's man management. Look what he did with Riyad Mahrez recently. I mean, it was like feeding a really hungry lion a steak. Finally, now you get your chance. Go and take it. And he did. He did the same with Phil Foden before that as well. Mark's just explained what he's done with Kevin De Bruyne. We look at a manager, we think, what formation is he doing? Is he shouting? Or what's he doing? There's so many things that, on a day like today, I don't think you can praise a manager enough. This isn't just about Arsenal. This isn't just about a 4-1 win. This is about the things that you do Monday through Friday, every week, that builds you up to what he's done today.
He's a special manager. I mean, not since Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't think there's anybody that comes even close to Pep Guardiola. We often say that. People make fun of us, right? Because people will say that he's got the money. Manchester City buys players and all that. Yeah, Chelsea spends a lot of money. Manchester United spends a lot of money. Everybody, PSG spends a lot of money. You can spend all the money in the world, but you still have to make the team play like they do often, but today in particular. And that's not easy. You've got to get the players to get on the same page. And you know what? He's challenged everybody. There isn't a player look at Bernardo Silva. I mean, he said it often, but he's got to be his favorite player. Remember in those years when they were battling Liverpool, he was unplayable that one season. Well, last year he was off. He wasn't playing. I mean, last year he was saying, I got to leave. He may be leaving this year. That's not going to be easy to replace him. Gundogan, because we got to talk about him, right? We talk about all the obvious ones. But Bernardo Silva, I've mentioned his job on the outside today. But he was coming inside at times to help Rodri, right? Because John Stones wasn't next to him, wasn't coming inside. 4 in the back, he was playing a center back. And Gundogan is leaving as well. But I'm thinking, okay, remember when David Silva was there? We were saying, oh my God, how are they going to replace David Silva and his brilliance between the lines? And there you have it. You have Gundogan, you have Bernardo Silva, you have Foden, you have all the players or De Bruyne. So even if they do lose Gundogan, and that's going to be the case, maybe Bernardo Silva, somehow you feel that maybe if Jude Bellingham comes in or whoever else it may be, he'll find a way because, I mean, he works with these players and notice that when he takes players out of the lineup, it's very often, not always, but very often when they're at their best, because that's his way of trying to get even more out of them.
Final word to Mark Ogden at the Etihad. I wanted to speak about the Manchester City fans. And you mentioned all the games that you've been to over the years. First of all, did you get the feeling in the build-up to this game that this was something special? And secondly, that was probably Man City. Say that they were at 100% in the first half today. Can they get 80, 85%? Will that be enough in the league games between now and the end of the season? What do you think?
Yeah, I just been looking at the fixtures and I don't really see where they're going to slip up. I mean, you could say maybe Brighton last midweek of the season because Brighton are a good team going for Europe, but they lost tonight at Nottingham Forest. So I think City got 7 games to play in the league. They'll win all those 7. I just think they'll blow their opponents away. I just think there's a sense of belief around the stadium that I've not really seen before with City fans that they think they can win the treble. I think they believe they'll beat United in the cup final. I think they're probably right. And I think they feel that they've got time to get one over on Real Madrid. And if they beat Real Madrid, then I don't really see Inter or AC Milan beating them in the final. So there is a real sense of belief here and kind of momentum. But, things can change. But, with Man City, you don't really get those strange results. And whenever they've been in a title running over the years, they tend to close it out. I can't remember a single Premier League title running when City have blown it. Man United have blown it over the years. Chelsea have and other teams. But, when Man City are in ready to win something, they go and win it. It's only Europe that's really the question mark, but they're getting better in Europe. So I think this is the treble on the way. I really do. I think 11 games to go, 11 games to the treble.
Well, as someone that spends most of his time dealing with clubs in the Northwest, specifically Manchester United and Manchester City, I can just see the ESPN FC editors on the phone to you in the week leading up to the Champions League final if Man United have already wrapped up the double and they're going for the treble, about comparison pieces between 99 and Fergie and that United treble and a potential treble for Manchester City in 2023. I'm just warning you, by the way.
They haven't won anything yet, right? I mean,
That's the
but
thing.
yeah, and the next 2 games or 3 games, Fulham away, I'm looking West Ham and Leeds home. And, you know, if you still think Arsenal have a chance, they have Chelsea, Newcastle, and Brighton. I mean, that's going to be the psychological blow of today. It's something that I don't think a team like Arsenal can overcome right now. You know, I felt it within the game, that second goal just before halftime. That was it. That was enough, right? You know, there are a couple penalty shouts here and there, but, you know, for the most part, I think the psychology of the game is huge, I think, at a time like this. And I don't know if the City's going to have to wait till they play Brighton at the end to win it out.
Again, as you say, they haven't won anything yet, but they've taken a huge step towards another Premier League title. My thanks to Janusz, to Mark Ogden at the Etihad, to Luis Miguel, and to Dallin as well. My name is Mark Donaldson. We'll do all this again very soon. But for now, it's Manchester City with 4 goals blowing away Arsenal and on course for another Premier League title. Bye for now.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.